Brian Schombeck. Welcome,
What's up,
bro.
man? How are you?
It's good to have you again. So, guys, Brian is the CEO of Spartan Solar, partner with Alex Smith, and we've gotten a little bit closer the last, I'd say, couple of weeks, and getting to know each other in our businesses. And guys, Brian is a savage salesperson that has transitioned to a savage entrepreneur leader. So, guys, Brian has started over 3 companies that have done over 100 mil each, and Spartan is one of those. And you were CEO of a $1 billion company. Can we say which one?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Lumio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And guys, but what I love about Brian is you had 7 years of sales experience, and then you transitioned into leadership. And not, and it's one thing to transition to leadership, but executive leadership, but then actually create real value and win.
Yeah. And
you've done it repeatedly. And so I want to deep dive on that with you and talk about this transition on this episode and, go wherever it takes us. I'm sure we'll dive into different topics that I selfishly want to pick your brain on. But dude, with that, let's jump into this, Brian. We were just talking about before the show a little bit. What differentiates a great salesperson versus a great leader?
Yeah. Like you said, we were talking about it before.
Yeah.
So it's similar to what I said then is sales makes you dangerous. Leadership makes you durable. So there are 2 competing ideas. And to be a good salesperson is ultimately required at the beginning. And as you scale and grow, it's important to make the jump from salesman to businessman.
Yeah.
And that jump is where you're working on 2 separate sides of the business that have competing ideals, but need to work in unison as one. That's why it's not required to be a great salesman to be a good CEO, but the best CEOs in the world are some of the best salesmen in the world. You'll notice.
Yeah.
You can just go off the list.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They're all really good at selling and persuading. And that all comes from their initial investment into that side of things before they moved into selfless, long-term, goal-oriented. And so I think there's really a process to grow from there.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the things that often get overlooked in that transition? Because it's easy to tell, great salespeople, you need enthusiasm, you need to be able to sell a vision, and that a CEO needs that. But I guess where's the stark difference and where's the contrast?
Yeah. I just start by listing out attributes.
Okay.
So I'm a nut. I write everything down.
Yeah, you are. I love it.
Yeah. So every thought, phrase, quote, advice I've ever been given over the last 7 to 10 years, I've written down in one way or another.
That's incredible.
Either I wrote them in a notebook or I wrote them on a digital note on my phone. So I feel like that's one of the most powerful things you can do is aggregate all of the knowledge and golden nuggets that you learn over the years and put them into a centralized location so you can always refer back to them if you're having struggles or you need answers. Generally, by the time you've reached 25 years old, you've heard every answer to all the problems you're about to encounter. You just forgot them.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I start with what is the transition that you need to start to make as a salesman versus businessman, it's listing off the attributes of both gives you clarity on the dichotomy between those 2. So a salesman, in my opinion, you have to be selfish.
Yep. 100%.
You have to be selfish with your time, with your energy, with your pace.
Yeah.
You need to build and generate immediate income and momentum. That's how you survive.
Yeah.
You can't survive sales unless you generate momentum and immediate income, personal income.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's step 1. Generally, sales starts with nothing. Bigger is always better. More always means more value. And I think of it as sales trains conviction, persuasion, and momentum.
Yeah.
So that's what it takes to be a great salesperson to start.
Yeah.
Without that, none of the other things can happen.
Right. It's just funny. You're listing all these things off and I'm like, a great CEO is the opposite of all these.
Yeah.
Selfless, thinking long-term, not short-term.
Yeah. And it's funny. We'll make the connection, right? So I'll list out the attributes of what I think a good businessman is.
Yeah.
Selfless, needs to envision long-term and let go of immediate financial gain. So has to forego immediate financial gain in order to help others first so that he can get what he wants in return. And look at it as long-term success and stability. Another trap of salesman to businessman is thinking bigger is better.
Yeah, it's not.
Bigger isn't better. Better's better.
Yeah.
Alex has picked up that mantra. I love that he repeats it.
Yeah.
Efficiency and effectiveness are value. They're not just something you're trying to do. That is the value of what you do. So making the best 3 to 5 decisions you can in a week can have the maximum impact across hundreds of people, potentially in an organization. Rather than you make 1 to 3 good decisions as a salesperson, on a day-to-day basis, you're really only impacting yourself.
Say that one more time, because you're saying you're making 3 to 5 decisions on a week.
Yeah. So
but they're just critical decisions.
Yeah. Once systems and process are in place, so it's that Herculean climb up the mountain, right? The mountain doesn't soften as we climb higher.
Right.
We harden as we elevate.
Yeah, life doesn't get easier. We just get better.
Yeah. So the systems and process that you pull up out of the dumps and build and create and grow, once those are running, the most efficient and effective position for a CEO is not to hover over and micromanage everybody.
Manage the systems.
Yeah. It's to make the best 3 to 5 decisions you can in a week that impact the business the most. Because you'll find that when you transition into being a CEO or a business person, there really are 3 to 5 problems that continually come up.
Yeah,
they're the same problems
somehow
in every business. And it's like not rocket science, but they're hard to get a quality academic teaching on. Like no one really teaches you about them. You have to kind of live them. And then once you live them, you know what to look for as you go into your next one. So you have to be able to let go, and letting go trains systems, delegation, and scale. And so I would say like a tagline for this is always, sales makes you dangerous, but leadership makes you durable.
Yeah.
And speed is everything when it comes to execution.
Yeah.
So as a salesman, you learn that speed is execution, right? But trust is everything when it comes to people. So you have to switch that thought too.
Yeah, you do.
You can't be fast with people.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes slow yourself down.
This is where I've made a mistake.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You've went through this gauntlet of 7 years of learning how to be you in your door-to-door sales career so far, right? Or 10 years maybe. And you're talking to someone who didn't go through that gauntlet, that crucible, and you're trying to speed them up on a process that they have never done before and have never experienced that level of pressure or that level of intensity. Whereas in door-to-door, you learn pressure and intensity every day, all day.
Yeah.
And you build a muscle to it where you're numb to it.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't even feel it.
Yeah.
It's just part of your job.
Yeah. That's spot on.
Yeah. So that's where I would start, is like, how do you make the transition? It's by listing out the attributes of each, and then noticing when you need to make the transition. And typically the transition is made when you've created enough momentum. I always use fancy little sayings because I love naming everything.
Yeah.
I call it the exit velocity.
Okay.
If you can create enough exit velocity to get out of orbit and get away from the gravity that's constantly pulling you down towards mediocrity, there comes a point where you like exit out into space, but the engines aren't on yet.
Yeah.
And it's like you're either going to keep going or you're going to fall back down to earth. Right.
That's going from salesman to CEO.
Yeah.
That is it.
And it always reminds me of like, most people who listen to this are probably young men.
Yeah.
I assume, and young women. But it reminds me of going from a bachelor or bachelorette mindset to a married husband mindset.
That's perfect.
Right? They're just like bachelorette mindset is the sales portion of the brain.
Yeah.
And the marriage portion of the brain requires all the same thinking as the CEO.
Yeah.
Because you're managing a long-term relationship and foregoing immediate success for long-term success.
Exactly.
And so that's really where you can start. Is if you're looking to make a transition between those two things, listing out the attributes in your mind, what they are, and then noticing when you've reached that exit velocity.
So what are some of the key attributes that you would say have set you apart and other leaders you've seen that have grown? What are some of the key attributes?
Yeah, key attributes. Number one thing is I always describe it as, I don't know what it is, but some people have pride in what they do.
Yeah.
Like they have an internal drive that's just different. And I'm super fascinated by figuring out why that is. So number one is hunger.
Yeah.
That's the number one correlation across all successful people.
It is
sustained hunger.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No, it's true.
But
it's true. Tony Robbins always says it.
Yeah, that's something inherent in everybody.
Yeah.
You got to stay hungry, right? So I would say,
you know what I learned from another mentor is how you know if someone's really hungry. Because everyone will tell you, oh, I'm hungry.
yeah,
And I ask, well, what have you done today to show that you're hungry? What did you do in the last 24 hours? Because somebody who's hungry takes massive action. And somebody that's not hungry will say, oh, well, I had this going on and I had this. And so it's different, It's like, yeah, bro, you're not that hungry.
yeah. And, you're honored for what you've done in the past, but you're respected for what you've done today.
Yeah.
Most people can't get up and do the simple, boring things over and over and over again. And it's not like they're not smart and they're not capable. They just lack an obsession and don't care deeply enough to find what others will overlook.
That's true.
I think that's really like, some people will mistake that for being really smart or being a genius.
Yeah.
But it's, you just cared more for longer and were able to discover things that others didn't.
What other attributes would you say? So hunger, execution.
Yeah. Knowing the difference between speed and execution, and people and trust.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned that. So
yeah.
I'll be a little bit vulnerable. I'm very good at speed of execution.
Yeah.
And I've seen how my obsession there has actually affected my relationships, which I've always been good at, winning people over, relationship management. But there's a balancing act here. And so I want to hear from you. Like, how do you balance executing fast, building a team that's fast, but not being a complete asshole that people hate, to put it bluntly?
Yeah. I think it's, and obviously this is the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to have a different answer. This is just what I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Sure.
Is that you have to build an environment, like what is required of you, right? So always ask what's required of you first.
Yeah.
And in my mind, what's required of a great entrepreneur and employer is you have to build an environment where they're capable of growth. Not only from a sales side where we're making all the money, going on all the trips, but on like the personal individual level.
Yeah.
Can they grow and learn something from you? And do they have access to that at the company?
Nice.
Right? And then 2 is defining what is success and failure. Most people never take the time to go through and actually define everyone's metrics for what is success and failure. There's basic generalized key performance indicators, like always a buzzword, KPIs. And what is a KPI, right? It's a performance indicator. It's supposed to be a proxy for success or a substitute for success, right? And what you'll find when you get into dysfunctional businesses is the KPIs no longer are proxies for success. They don't even matter to the business. And you've got 90% of the people working on KPIs that make no impact to the end user.
Give me an example.
So like as a smaller company, one of your KPIs might be getting an NOC signed.
Okay.
How many days from customer sit till NOC signature, right? And there'll come a time when you're a large enough company where you have digital remote notaries and they're happening on the site survey. That KPI is no longer relevant to the cycle time of the project. It's something you should just throw out.
Right.
People are scared to tear things out.
But you need to simplify.
Yeah. And you cut deeper than you need to.
Yeah.
And you do it on purpose. It's an efficiency thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really step 1 is what do you owe them? You owe them an environment where they can come in and grow.
Grow personally and professionally.
Yep, personally and professionally. And you owe them to define what is success and failure.
Okay.
And you owe them teaching them how to create success and what creates failure. If you can do those 3 things, you've created the perfect environment for creating dogs.
Okay.
Right? People that will love you and follow you no matter what you do.
Yeah. Now there's defining success for reps, managers, and leaders. Do you define that differently for those groups of people?
Yeah. They all have different things they need to be accomplishing, right? An individual rep basis needs to be setting appointments and selling.
Yeah.
Like they have to do that as part of the job. That is just a part of the job. Management has to deal with pay escalations, rep relations. They're like a pseudo therapist. They handle all kinds of crap, right? They manage the day-to-day. They work through their employees. And the best thing that they can possibly do is go into the field with their employees each day. I think of it as like being a principal of a high school when you're the manager, because there's little peer-to-peer accountability in a sales org. it's usually top down.
Yeah.
Peer-to-peer accountability doesn't generally exist in a sales org because what that guy does doesn't make any difference to what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go be me and that guy's going to go be him and it's whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not actually true.
Yeah, because of the law of the lid.
What's actually true is if that guy goes and lies to somebody, creates a bad environment,
It does.
creates a clawback on a customer where they committed fraud or didn't explain things correctly and weren't an expert. And a lot of times it's not even they want to, it's they're confused. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they got in that position too early and they go create a problem. Now that recension hits your company. How hard is it for you to pay out all your commissions all at once when clawbacks hit every week?
Yeah.
So actually they are a team, right? But they operate like a golf team, but they should be operating like a football team.
I like
and something that I always tell people when I was managing, and I learned this from Casey Thompson at the Table Group,
Okay.
is don't call yourself a team. None of you are acting like a team. You're all individually winning or losing. You might as well just call yourself enemies because then at least it will make sense when that guy goes and F's you over.
He's like, it's better to be 100% real than to fake it.
If you're not a team, don't be a team and call yourself enemies because that's what you should expect because that's the status quo. So as a manager, it's the galvanizing effect of creating teams. Once the manager can create teams, he moves into a regional role. Now the regional role has different effective KPIs that manage the business, right? He's making sure that like sit rates happen. He's making sure that like total gross sets have been created. He's managing metrics across the board at a higher level and then individually going down and working with particular people in the org who may be succeeding or failing. If they're succeeding, he's learning from them. If they're failing, he's uplifting them.
Do you have certain things like, I kind of look at 3 different buckets. There's producers, managers, and builders. I look at builders like people who are regionals, right? A manager can become a builder. They can be a hybrid. But one of the key roles of a builder, I think, is bringing in, growing the organization through multiplication and duplication.
Yeah.
Recruiting and or duplicating success from your team.
Yeah.
How do you look at that? Is that like a key thing or?
Yeah, it's a key thing. And the builders, they all have a system.
Yeah.
So I don't even think of them as builders or not builders. I think of it as, have you taught them enough that they have built their, Nick system?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have the Brian system, and the Brian system works for Brian, and the Nick system works for Nick.
And if they say, hey, the Nick system doesn't work for me.
Exactly.
What if they say that?
Well, I start with so just like the salesman businessman question, is I list out the attributes of what's a good system, in my opinion.
Okay.
Right? So a good system has to have a high enough, you have to have the moral high ground.
Okay.
That's to me a good system. Because what are you going to appeal to for the authority?
Right.
When you need to enforce the system.
Okay. See, so it needs to have more. Okay.
Start with like a high moral, and I'll explain what I mean by that because that's kind of abstract and vague, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's very easy to put service to others as the highest value.
Okay.
Because a lot of people and most people intuitively believe that service to others is one of the main purposes and one of the main joys in life.
I agreed.
So that's a very easy one to start out with. So I'll give you guys a little bit of the sauce. This is something that I do, but I love doing this with every employee and every person who ever's come into my org before, because to me, this sets the standard of what are you trying to do? How are you going to accomplish it? And then who's going to push you to do that? So if I can get 3 agreements from somebody, I can typically get them to buy into the Brian system. That's what I try to do because that's what I actually believe in.
Okay.
And it's easy to evangelize about it because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
So when I put service to others, I need to know what you want. If you can't tell me what you want, you can't work here. If you haven't gotten that clarity, I'm going to bring somebody in who's potentially a nuclear bomb that could go off in my organization because they weren't clear. And clarity is a strategy when you're starting out.
Yeah.
So creating what you want. Now, say somebody's I want to make $50,000. Okay.
Okay.
How many people, Nick, have you helped make $50,000?
About 25 to 30.
50,000?
Yeah.
Hundreds. I bet hundreds.
One more than that. Yeah. I was just thinking this last 6 months. Yeah.
No, yeah. In your career.
Yeah. Oh, hundreds. Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
So like you, with a straight face, can tell this person the thing that you want most, I have helped hundreds of other people get before. I know how to do it. So you and I are going to have to agree on 3 points. And if you agree on these 3 points, I promise you, I know how to get you this.
What are the 3 points?
Okay. So point 1 is, this is everything I do is to serve your thing that you told me you wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's start there. I'm not here to bitch at you. I'm not here to break you down. I'm not here to yell at you. I'm not here to like be mean to you. I'm here to get you what you want, because what are you going to remember? If you don't get what you want, no matter how good I am, what are you going to remember?
Yeah.
No value.
Nothing.
If I help you get what you want and you hated me during the process, but at the end of the day, you got and accomplished your life's dream, what would you think?
Oh, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And that person will be with you forever because they know that you can get them where they need to go. So the second thing that I agree on is like accountability. Accountability to me is just another piece of service.
Okay.
It's a tougher piece because there's conflict. But there's 2 ways to be accountable, right? You can be supportive and emotional, or you can have empathy. Empathy is supportive and emotional, but there's empathy and sympathy. So do you know the difference between those 2 things?
Yeah, like empathy is like you feel you've been there, you understand, you care.
Yeah.
Sympathy is like, I get it.
Sympathy is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't believe you didn't I can't believe you didn't set an appointment today. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Man, that's terrible.
It like backfires.
Dude, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. There is no tomorrow, dude.
Yeah.
So when prerequisite for leadership, just right off the bat, if you haven't done what you're asking this person to do or have never accomplished what they're trying to accomplish, don't ask them to do it.
Yeah.
Because you won't be able to have empathy for them.
Because of hypocrisy.
Yeah. All you will be is you'll be like a contagious black goo that's like emanating like just negative energy towards them, because you're going to come off super negative because you've never done it.
So the guys managing people who are self-genning have had the self-gen.
Exactly.
The guys who are managing setters once upon a time were setters or are currently setters.
Yep. And so that's the best organizations, is when you organically grow this arm, because it self-replicates. When you're like, hey, a grower self-replicates. You're like, well, break that down. How do they really do that? They do that by doing this. And so once you have that distinction, you're like, hey man, I'm going to hold you accountable through empathy, not through sympathy. And that means I'm holding you accountable through understanding, not through force. What happens when you push really hard on something?
Pushes back.
It freaking pushes back, dude.
Yeah.
That is the worst feeling in the world, when you're a manager pushing and you feel resistance against the push and it pushes back.
Dude, this has been the problem for me.
Yeah.
This has been my problem. I've done all the things that I demand my people do. Part of the problem has been expectations, and that stems back from me hiring too fast. Yeah. I've learned my lesson. But the other part of this is that some of the people I have managing have not done the thing that I'm having them hold their people accountable to. Do you see the problem?
That's okay. That can happen.
Okay.
But that person, so I loved what Todd and Casey, Jeff Bowe, like part of their thing was the regional manager needs to sell 30 accounts a year at Vivint. I don't care how many accounts you manage.
For that moral authority kind of thing?
Yeah, where it's like, dude, it's okay if you haven't done it. You have to be able to go do it, because you have to be in the field for a certain amount of time to understand, to actually have empathy. Because when you're bringing people into your system, right? Hey, this is what you want most. I'm doing everything to serve you. I'm going to hold you accountable through empathy, not sympathy. In order to be empathetic towards you, I have to have had walked in your shoes. That is a prerequisite for leadership. So no leader should ever attempt this process unless they've gone out and done the thing the other person's trying to do. Because when you talk to somebody and they have never been close to the fire, they're going to give you terrible feedback because they don't actually know what the actual issues are. And so when you're holding people accountable through empathy, you can say, hey man, I know how bad it sucks to bagel. I have bageled many days.
It's much more powerful.
Yep.
Dude,
and this is how I overcame it. And this is what you need to do. So we're going to go into the third arm of the agreement. Okay. So I'm holding you accountable to what you said you wanted. Okay. And in order for me to do that, I have to go into the hardest part of service. The hardest part of service is discipline. Because discipline isn't something someone does to you. It's something someone does for you. And changing that in your mind allows you to be humble, hungry, and smart. And those things allow you to grow, learn, teach, and achieve. So that's where you get to the point where you've agreed on what they want. You're going to hold them accountable and discipline. So there's some form of mental or physical restriction that you can use for discipline.
Yeah.
So I'll like put it into a practical sense, because I know we're talking like high level abstract, but in a practical sense, I really thought through this a lot, because
I love it.
It's effective when you get people to buy in with you on the same idea and row in the same direction.
This is very huge.
And discipline, a physical discipline could be like, hey man, you've bagelled for 2 days. In our company, we do not bagel for 3. So I think, since I've done it before, that more time on doors, talking to more homeowners with no car and no out, is going to help you achieve getting a set appointment today. So I'm going to put you in a car group, even though you're a dude who drives, even though you're 27 years old and you have your own stuff and your own money and you're a man. I'm going to put you in a car with somebody, and you're going to go out to area. And at the end of the day, and I know this is crazy, I used to do this, it's honestly helpful. I'm going to ask you to show me your phone and the activity on the phone. Nice. Is that cool with you?
Nice.
And then that way it's like, okay, they're in area on time. They're working and knocking doors. They're not preoccupying themselves on anything other than their knocking point of sale app. And you can see their activity on their phones. That's the magic of iPhones, is they can go track activity. So there's a physical restriction. So that's one of the physical restrictions. The disciplines is if you bagel 3 days in a row, no sets, because we love you and because I've been there. I love that line. It's powerful. We're going to have you go out in area for accountability with another guy. And also you're going to show us your activity. Yeah. And at the end of the day, dude, if you're above board and you're doing everything you say, because the past 2 days you've sworn up and down to me that you're not on Facebook, you're not on Instagram, you're not on Tinder or whatever you're doing out there in the field. You've swore up and down to me that that's not true. So I'm just going to hold you accountable to that and discipline you from a physical standpoint on you showing me the phone. And as long as that's okay with you, look at how we're going to go around this triangle. It's always going to ping ball back around to one of the 3. Okay, are we in I'm achieving what I want most in life? Are we in the accountability stage? Are we listening and growing through discipline and allowing it to happen so that I can achieve my thing? Everything ping bongs back to what they want most in life. And if you can create that system with people, they will love you and you will be able to push them harder. They will work harder and they will achieve more, and their life will be better for it. So I haven't executed all 3 of these really well. For me, like I've had a hard problem with number 2, the accountability at scale. But I've seen the power of when somebody comes in my office and I meet them for the first time, going in and understanding what they want and why they want it, and understanding the clarity there is power. Or if it's lacking, it's a red flag, right? And but sometimes I can bring clarity to those people. And I think sometimes I've sold the wrong people on working with me, because I already had to bring clarity where I think I should have just walked away and said, hey, probably not going to fit. Yeah. I did it this morning, actually, to the guy, because he didn't know what he wanted. I was like, love you. Go figure it out until you know what you want. That's why that question's so important, though. Yeah. Like, what do you want? And what's even crazier is that's not just for an individual. That applies to leadership. That applies to the CEO. That applies to the business. Yeah, everything. What does the business want? Yeah. Why does it exist at all? Everyone's got to be aligned on it. Outside of making money. Yeah. Is there any reason? Yeah. And when you're talking about who I should work with and who I shouldn't work with, bringing in grenades or bringing in people who are going to like help grow and like from the ground up bootstrap this thing, that really is your superpower, is having clarity. So I want to give everybody this. The Table Group is an awesome consulting firm that no one's ever heard of. They work in most of the Fortune 500 companies in America, and their entire philosophy is built around the healthy versus smart dichotomy. So the difference between healthy and smart. And their thesis, their idea is that the smart side of business is table stakes. That's just to be in business. The world is full of smart people. We have ChatGPT. We can ask it any question. There's problem solvers. There's this, there's that. To be in business, you got to be smart. Yeah. So there's really no advantage gained by somehow trying to magically manage to be smarter. Okay. But there is an advantage gained on the other side where the healthy side of business is low politic, low confusion, low turnover, and knowing who you are, what you do, and why you exist. If you have those things, they call that business health. And the healthy side of the business is truly where the last competitive advantage lives in 2026. So the tagline is clarity is a strategy. Until you're extremely clear on that side of the business, on every single one of those questions, you can't even bring somebody into your org and know if they're the right or wrong person to be with you. Because you don't know.
Yeah. Who we are, why we exist, what we do, how we execute, what were they?
How we behave.
How we behave, yeah.
So, why we exist, right? Why does Spartan Solar exist, SpartanX? To elevate the industry through trust and uncommon success for the people we serve. Like, why did we make that as the tagline? Because when you sit down and you workshop these things, you get your entire leadership group together and you're like, hey, take money off the table. We're all going to make money. Everyone here is a great salesperson. Everyone here is a great operator, right? Take that off the table. Why should we exist as a company at all? And that creates a holy cause because most of the people are going to give you like passionate reasons. And for me, like when you're like, can I say Lumia or not? I'm like, yeah, say it. Because like everything you go through in life shapes you into who you are. And like one of the best takeaways I've ever gotten from a mentor in life is, dude, you don't need to know how to do everything. You don't need to know what to do. He's like, sometimes it's more powerful to know what not to do.
What not to do, yeah.
So like the blessing of being a COO of $1 billion company, being all the boardrooms, being through the, corporate process and seeing how it all works and learning what I want to do and what I don't want to do, it made me a 10 times better operator. It made me a way better CEO because I was able to learn from people who were stubbing their toe and not have to go stub the toe myself on my third try. So that's what I would say is like, the more you can learn what you shouldn't be doing and the clearer you can get on your mission, vision, and values, the stronger your hiring process is going to be, the higher the retention will be, the lower of the politicking, because sales is purely politicking. That's all they're always doing constantly. That's the nature of sales. It's wild.
Yeah.
So the more you can minimize politics and confusion on the sales side of the business, the stronger everything else is. And for years and years and years, there's been this problem with door-to-door specifically versus company interest. And the problem is the rep makes a high commission, so they're incentivized to say whatever to the consumer. And the company will come up with a script and a process that tells what the customer should hear. All the proper legal explanations, all the documents, all the explanations about you'll always have two bills to the power company. What will that bill be? What does solar do? How does it actually work? Right? And what you'll find is the incentives are misaligned and the door-to-door salesperson will go off script and create a problem that then explodes the back end of the company.
Yeah.
And you can watch that across every single org. Lumio, Sunrun even has it.
Yeah.
Who's the worst one right now? Freedom is going through it. Through some bad sales practices, but you can go down the list.
They see people selling, they see numbers increase. They're like, well, it's fine. But you need to follow process. They need to be preaching the same message from the top down.
Yeah. So one thing that happens in business is you grow too fast. Okay. So they call it uncontrolled growth. And what does the sales mind tell you?
Oh, it's good.
That's amazing.
Good. Yeah, no, it's not.
Oh my gosh, we grew 100% this month.
Yeah.
My team just broke 50 records. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. All positive, all positive. On the back end CEO side, what I see is 100% growth is cash loss.
Yeah, it is.
Because we're out punting our coverage every single time. And that's okay, but it happens because we're misaligned on the front end and the back end. So the power of getting clear on why you exist, what you do, and how you behave is the salespeople and the operational people who have two different kinds of minds, right? They're completely opposite kinds of minds, and they're both super talented at what they do. But it aligns them on a common thread, right? And if you can align on the common thread of the end user getting what they expect, there is little to no problems on either side.
That's across any business.
And
that's spot on.
That's where the explanations, you could be explaining everything correctly, but if the customer assumes something inaccurate and you don't correct them, that might seem like a win in the moment.
No, it's not.
But what is that really doing? That's just shifting the problem downstream.
It is. Yeah.
To some guy who's making $20 an hour, who's not equipped to deal with a customer who doesn't understand what they bought. And now you've created a nuclear bomb in your back end.
Yeah.
So that clarity from the organization getting down to every single person in the sales org, that creates that common thread where everyone's rowing in the same direction, and the clarity has now become your strategy versus your super smart idea of, hey, top of funnel, more sales, more this, more that. And then we're going to make those sales into X% EBITDA margin. And then from that EBITDA margin, we're going to do this. You're like thinking like monetarily and through numbers. And so you can never come to consensus.
So when you talk about the how you behave, what those are the things, those the core values you guys encompass, and like talk to me about that.
Yeah. So how you behave, and I know this seems like business nerdy, but
I love it.
I promise this is the sauce. Is, you know, for us it's you before me. It's all in. So whatever it takes, right? And it's dialed the F in. Our sales team lovingly adds the F in there. But so I'll walk through like what those mean. And it's important to reiterate these constantly, right? Like, what does the CEO actually do?
So it's just those three. Behave.
Yeah. Those are behaviorally how we operate. And those have like an expansive coverage, and I'll go into it.
There's like
quick.
multiple points of each.
Yeah.
Got
but
it.
the CEO really is the CRO, Chief Reminding Officer. You kind of just float around reminding people of the mission, the vision, the values, and what they're supposed to be doing, what is success and failure, and how they execute.
I've literally said that. I'm like, I swear to God, I'm like, I feel like I'm a Chief Reminding Officer.
That's what you are, though. That's literally what the title CEO converts into. And so that's where, you know, when we say you before me, what does that mean? We are in a handoff operational pipeline business, project management, right? Project management is complex and difficult, and a sales product inside of solar is so complex. Most people don't understand how complex it is. There's multiple applications that are needed. There's 1 and 3 line electrical diagrams that are needed. There's verification of install, post-installation. There's inspections. There's interconnection documents that need to be signed. Sometimes a witness test needs to be taken by the homeowner from a utility. It's an insanely complex process. So how most orgs work is they go off of results as the top of their pyramid, and they hold people accountable to results. And it goes like this. You didn't get me my results, Nick. Now I'm going to ask you why you never agreed on the mission. And when you say you didn't agree on the mission and you're not accountable, right? I'm going to get mad at you. I'm going to have some conflict with you, and I'm going to yell at you. And because I yelled at you, you weren't accountable and you didn't get results. Now I don't trust you. That's a terrible way to operate.
Yeah.
So you before me, what it means is that in every situation, you're giving the underhanded handshake. Like, you're going first in the giving. And most people think somehow in life you can get further ahead by taking more than you give.
No, you can't.
It's impossible. You win. You think you're winning in the short term, but in the long-term ledger of life, you're going like way into the red.
Yeah, the more you give, more you get.
Exactly. And so if every person in the org, sales, hey, that's not my job. I'm not supposed to get the I-6 doc signed. Dude, cool. Well, there's a $20 an hour person calling on your customer every day that's never done sales, that doesn't know how to get that customer to agree because the customer's not clear on their system in the first place. So does it really help you to say, you go do it? That's not my job. Does that help at all?
No.
It just feels good in the moment.
Yeah.
Because you're like, do it.
Do this. Yeah.
But it doesn't get anything done. So you before me is constantly giving the underhanded handshake, going first in every situation, and owning no matter what. Okay. The next one is, whatever it takes. So this has been a mantra at every company I've ever made. And I think it's like one of the core ingredients.
This is part of your all-in?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
all in.
Is a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. All in and whatever it takes are synonymous.
Okay.
So whatever it takes is sometimes it's not about how you approach situations that you know the outcome are. Like, to me, whatever it takes means, and it's kind of funny that we're named the Spartans, is whatever it takes is how you face unwinnable battles. What approach do you take to the unwinnable battle?
Because it's inevitable that you're going to face it.
You're in project management. Project management is going to have problems.
They're going to say it can't be done.
Yeah. There's no perfect CRM. There are no perfect people. There are no perfect sales. At at some point you're going to run into a problem.
Yeah.
And so how you approach an unwinnable situation is everything. Because that to me is whatever it takes. Like when the 300 Spartans go up against however many Persians it was, it's like what, 300 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
And how do they approach that situation? They like fight to the last man.
Yeah, there's no plan B.
Yeah, exactly. And whether you win or you fail, you show up as your best self. Not because somebody asked you to, but because that's who you are. And the last one is dialed in, right? Dialed in to me is being an expert in your book of business. No matter which portion of the business you're in, you are dialed in. You know every metric, you know every terminology, and you're constantly have your finger on the pulse of your department. It's not rocket science to get a solar project onto a roof, but it does take high attention to detail in very specific corridors. So if you can be dialed in on your single job, it's like the old adage, like sometimes we talk about it. Bill Belichick's the most boring dude of all time. You know his two favorite sayings? We're on to next week. And do your job. We do our job. So, but what he's saying in that is that every individual person needs to execute on their specific position in that specific play, right? Every play has a story, every play has a life, and then it's over. Okay. And a mentor of mine who used to be in pro sports had a funny saying. He's like, you can know everything about life by knowing who you are on the football field. Are you the offensive lineman? Are you the quarterback? Are you the safety? Right? Because if you're the quarterback, you're like getting all the glory, even though the offensive line is doing the hard work. Mm-hmm. But the offensive line still takes pride in what they do because they open the holes, they block. Nobody could run, nobody could pass without them. They create everything, you know? So having that accountability and knowing what position you are inside of the org, and that's where the leadership really comes in, is if you define success and failure for those people continually over and over and over again, you're constantly scrubbing the KPIs and making sure that none are in there that are old garbage that don't, signal success anymore. You have people all working and rowing in the same direction again with clarity on how to win. And so, that was very long-winded, but if I were to go back over those three things, how clear is it on the type of person that needs to work here if this was our job interview?
Yeah.
If that was the job interview I just gave you, like, you would know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, we already agreed on, hey man, what do you want most? Boom, 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 bang around the triangle, right? So it's like you've set the proper expectations. You've created the environment for growth. You've held up on your end. Now the only thing that's left in this whole equation is what do they owe you? And I always tell people what they owe me rather than like leave it unsaid. Right? And it just be vague. And then we tell ourselves a story and make assumptions.
You say follow through on what you say, or?
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you what you owe me.
What is it?
When you walk in the door, it's to be great. That's it. There's nothing else you owe me. That's the only thing you owe me, is that you have passion about this. I'll take someone who's willing over someone who's able every single day of the week, because I can teach the person who's willing. Mm-hmm. You can't always teach the person who's able.
Yeah. Very true. Sometimes the guys that are more able are harder to teach.
Way harder.
Old dog, new tricks kind of thing.
Well, it's like the pretty girl. She never learned how to tell jokes.
Yeah, she didn't need to.
Yeah.
So every guy said yes no matter what.
Because how much attention did you get? So it's the same thing with that, right? If you had some moniker of success early in your career, sometimes you become unmoldable. And that's why the number one thread across all people is sustained hunger. The best people in the world, right? They always think they're not doing enough. The lazy people in the world always think they're doing too much.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a prime example of this. This is the craziest thing to me in the world, and it's happened to me over a full decade. There will be someone who's sat in front of you who has never made more than $25,000 in a year before.
And they think they're
with a straight face, they will ask you for a $200,000 sign-on. Isn't that crazy? And then you'll run into somebody, right? Like a Todd Peterson or a guy or someone else that has a $100 million net worth or more. And guess what they'll ask you for? Nothing. And they'll work like a freaking slave dog to get to the result.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between those two people.
This is where I want to hit you. How the fuck do you find those people?
You build them. You build them.
You build and find.
Yeah. Well, you find your partner to start. Remember how we talked about this?
Yeah.
So first thing you do when you start a business is you think you're going to be able to do it on your own. You're not.
Yeah.
You are not going to do it alone. I don't care if I started a business tomorrow. If it was just me running the whole thing, it would fail. No matter how good I am, no matter how good I think I am, it will fail.
Yeah.
Success does not happen alone. It happens in packs and in pairs. And so the first thing you do is you find somebody else who you respect, who you can trust, and who is your equal, right? And they're the equal in all the areas that you aren't. And from there, you start building your people. And the funny thing is my very first company, Atlantic Key Energy, started with 3 people. So you don't have to go find 25 people to start something. You have to find 3 people who believe in it long enough to find the things that others won't.
That's good, bro. Say that one more time. That was so good. You
don't need 50 people to go start a company. You need to find 3 people who will care about something long enough to find the things others won't.
Tell me what you think about this. I personally, because I have been fast to hire, which is not good, and I have, in some regards, slow to fire too. And we know it should be slow to hire, fast to fire. I've pulled on people who there's misalignments. It's my fault. In rep roles and different managerial roles, and I've almost tried to force certain things. Like I'm trying to make everybody a builder. But it's improper alignment and expectations that I've been trying to force. Right, that brute force side of me, and it comes from a good heart, good place. But I truly believe if I were to slow down, get it lined on exactly what you're talking about, who we are, why we do what we do, how we behave, what's most important for us to do right now, that it'll be easier to create those expectations and alignment with the right people. And then that 3 turns into 30 turns into 90 much faster.
Yeah.
Tell me if this is true. You can fight it or tell me it's bullshit. But I feel like if you pull on the 50, the wrong, it's faster at first, but it's actually slower in the long run to build.
Yeah. So
because there's friction.
There's a lot there, right? That's like a very wide ranging.
It is wide. I can get more specific.
It's very broad, but I would start by saying, this is one of my favorite sayings. And again, it comes from one of my best friends, Casey Thompson, is, I don't know if he's the original guy who said it. I don't want to credit the quote, but, Mount Everest is full of dead men who tried to sprint up it.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
So who reaches the peak? It's the person who slows down, takes the sure footing, and looks where they're walking. And you have to slow down. It's like counterintuitive to speed up, right? There are certain areas of the mountain where you can go fast, and there are certain areas of the mountain where you have to go slow. And you typically have a Sherpa guiding you through those things. So what I would challenge back to you is I would say you haven't tugged on them wrong. You haven't built the right environment, the right clarity, and the right trust with the correct people to actually build. And I think what you're focused on is speed and execution.
Yeah.
And so those 2 things overtake your mind rather than the trust and the slow trust building with the people through clarity.
So how do you play the balancing game between those 2? Going back to that.
Again, it's slow down to go faster. So right now, even if you think it slows you down, take 3 days on a weekend with every leader and go somewhere. Lock yourself in a room. And everyone's going to say, I have appointments, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this family, I have this. And you're going to say, the business can't go without me for 3 days of this.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Well, you can keep doing that and sucking. Or you guys can all just stop doing what you're doing for literally 72 hours and go solve 95% of the company's problems and get extremely clear on what's going to be said leaving that room and how you're going to cascade that information down to the end of the row. And if you just did that 4 times a year, your company would double.
I'm trying to do that.
Just do it.
I'm getting friction.
At some point, the leaders of the business have to buy into that. They have to.
Yeah.
And it's on you to show them why and how they should. And that's what a lot of high-level people need, right? When you go tell somebody, like if I tell a Nick, I'm like, hey man, you knocked that door wrong. immediately you're going to be like, I've knocked a bajillion doors. I already know what I'm doing. That doesn't make any sense to me. Right? But if you can explain the clarity piece, you can explain the behavioral piece and why you guys need to be in absolute lockstep about where you're going and what you're doing, and how clarity is the last business strategy, the last advantage in business strategy in 2026. That's a powerful message that can galvanize people to go.
And so,
I would say communicate those messages, be powerful in your speech, and like the right people will come and the wrong people won't.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll get to those meetings, and sometimes, I run this exercise at the meetings where everybody writes out what they do. And, am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it the snack bitch routine.
Okay.
So what happened once in our company was we took these 3 days to slow down. We had all of our people in the room. Okay. And we wrote out on the top of the board everyone's name. And then we had that person list out what they do in a day. What do you spend most of your time on? And I know it's redundant and I know it's lame. Everyone already knows what you do. Yeah. But how about you tell me what you think you do? And they write out the list underneath their name. And you just go across and mark where there's doubles. Right? And it goes back to this one principle of, if you sit down 6 people in a room or 5 people in a room and you ask them, what percentage of the business's success are you responsible for? That number won't be 100%.
Correct.
They're going to say 250%. They're going to say, I'm responsible for 40% of the business success. You're like, well, there's still 4 other people. Yeah. So the math isn't mathing up here. So something's not correct here. So the alignment is either wrong or you're not doing what you're saying you're doing.
Yeah.
So finding the doubles is important. And what one time we found was there was a guy making a substantial amount of money, a wild amount of money. And underneath his title, all the roles that he did were duplicates of other people in the org that spent all their time in that role.
Interesting.
So what we got down to, and why we call it the snack bee routine, is because the last thing that he had under his name was he stocks the snacks. It was the most insane, embarrassing meeting, but also so good because it was done out of like a good spot.
Yeah.
No one was like, what the F?
Yeah. It was
but everyone was
laughing.
like, whoa,
bro,
that is really what you do. You're the snack bee here. So it's like, we went back into the office and we're like, hey man, I love you. You're reduced to this until you can prove that you're going to do X, Y, and Z and build more value. It's not like you're fired, but you're reducing down to what the value that you're providing to the business is. And this isn't a personal thing. This isn't an attack on you. This is, the business won't survive if we're handing out cotton candy to every single person who's stacking the stock machine.
Yeah.
It's just not going to. So figure out who those people are, figure out what they do, get extremely clear on what they're supposed to do, and then define success and failure for each one of those leaders down to the single item. And I promise you the results will come from there when they leave. And then it's up to you to just reinforce.
Now, if everybody,
as they go into their own meetings.
I've come to this conclusion, like, hey, look, I'm not going to force people to go. Leadership isn't going to be forced. It's optional, but alignment is. And part of being aligned at Sparta is we self-develop. We meet together quarterly to develop, improve, and grow.
Yeah. And you just have to bite the bullet and commit to it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we were running a much bigger org than Sparta 7 years ago. And in the middle of everything, we were having a massive disaster happen. I somehow got convinced to do this, and it was the best decision I ever made.
That is the retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even a retreat. It's a business quarterly offsite that you're there for a very specific reason, for a very specific amount of time. It doesn't even matter
if it's at a hotel local.
Accomplish.
Like I'm trying to pull them out to different state, but like, okay, if we got wives, kids, babies, all this stuff, you know.
Most of your guys live in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Rent out a ballroom somewhere at one of the hotels, the Grand American or whatnot.
Just lock ourselves in.
Have everybody out, give their wife a spa ticket, and go ham for 3 days.
There you go. Yeah.
Like there's no need to go anywhere special.
I like it.
Getting remote is always better. Getting away from phones is even better.
Yeah.
So like Park City, that's a great spot for you guys to do one.
Yeah.
Any hotel that has a major ballroom is a great spot for you guys to do one. And it's a very raw and extremely pointed meeting. These aren't like long-winded, like nonsensical, non-value giving meetings.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like what are key things you're hitting on? Like if there's like, I I already have a good idea of like things we want to hit on: vision, alignment, game plan. But like, what are some key things that you think might get overlooked?
Yeah. So the main thing that I try to do for each quarter is identify the core idea of what's most important right now.
Okay.
That's
For
actually
that-
the
for that
fifth
quarter.
question in the table group
Yeah.
framework.
What's most important right now?
Yeah. And underneath what's most important right now, there are things called defining objectives. And those things make up what's most important right now. So most important right now is typically going to be a rallying cry. It's going to be a mantra. It's going to be an embodiment of all the defining objectives, right? And it's important that you take time to name it correctly. So one quarterly offsite, we called it tip of the spear. One quarterly offsite, we called it get legit,
Okay.
right? What goes into getting legit? And then we start marking out the boxes and the defining objectives. We're like big boy insurance and licensure, fleet vehicles that have wraps on them. We want to be best in class, world-class net EBITDA profitability. So a finance metric. In order to achieve that finance metric, we need X amount of sales on the top of funnel. And boom, 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 you start filling up your defining objectives. And each one of those boxes is going to encompass some portion of the business. And it's going to get you really clear on what you're supposed to do leaving that room, because you're going to see, hey, if we were to do these 4 things, would we accomplish what's most important right now? And your team's going to be like, hell yeah, we would.
Yeah.
Then you're like, cool. Everyone knows their mission. Let's break. And now we can use speed and go execute.
Got it.
Is everyone clear before we leave this meeting?
So
what you're responsible for?
There's clarity, there's unity, there's buy-in,
Teamwork too.
Yeah.
You're building your team.
camaraderie.
Yeah. And the more you build that group of leaders, like you want to have 4 Nicks. You don't want to have Nick managing 4 dudes who you don't think will ever be leaders at your company.
Correct. Yeah.
So people hoard information. They hoard knowledge. To me, like you give information and you give knowledge freely, because most people have no idea what to do with it and it gives them no competitive advantage.
Exactly.
But the people who you're mentoring that you're giving it to freely are seeing you on a daily basis execute and do the things, and they're learning how to use that information constantly.
Yeah.
So the more you can just continually talk with your people and give them value of what you do and how you do it and why, that creates a completely different environment than the first one we talked about.
Right. What's one of your ways you do that outside of the quarterly retreats, like weekly leadership calls? What's your framework for running those?
So every meeting starts with clarity, regardless of department, regardless of level.
I'm getting the pattern.
What's that?
I'm getting a pattern here.
Yeah.
That's a good pattern.
It's the boring, consistent things done repeatedly over time, right? That build. How do you build up your muscle?
Repetition.
Does it happen after one time at the gym? No.
Lots.
You got to go every day for a certain amount of years before you even see like the progress you want to see. And that's very similar to businesses. You're just building the muscle and practicing. So I will literally slow down and over explain. And sometimes you're a long-winded blabbermouth that you're like, oh, this guy's explaining this again for the 10th time. But it's like, yeah, I'm explaining again for the 10th time. I could go 10 steps ahead of you and go try to answer right now.
Some things you're hitting on some of these calls, pivotal things.
Pivotal things?
Yeah. Like you're trying to bring clarity. What points usually?
Like besides our questions?
Yeah. Yeah. Like on a typical weekly call with your leadership group, are you tackling one specific thing that's a demand then and there, or are you repeating what's the framework?
Yeah. So starting out with the framework, right, is you go into why you exist, what you do, how you behave, and you get people to break those down. Now, once somebody breaks those down, I pick one individual per call, right? And that individual is going to do the first set of questions. This guy's going to do this other set of questions. And we're going to call on everybody and make sure, 1, they know it. You have to know it off the top of your head. You can't go read it.
Wow.
And then 2, from there, I say, what's an instance of someone in our organization who embodied that behavior this week? And if they're like vague or can't bring one up, I'm like, cool, I know exactly where I need to go hammer this week. I need to go hammer on the you before me side of things. I need to go hammer on sales compliance. I need to go hammer on this week. And I let that inform my 3 to 5 best decisions. Because as we work our way down into what's most important right now in our defining objectives, right? We go over it. Okay, guys, what's most important right now? Get legit. Okay, where are we at with insurance? Who's responsible for the insurance bucket? Oh, Brendan. Okay, cool, Brendan. Where are we at? the deadline was Friday, right? So follow-ups and connecting pieces around your defining objectives, continually following up and reiterating and restating what the goal is and who's responsible. And then when you get into the meat of the meeting, I like to run meetings very structured. And prior to the meeting, I'm not sure if you've ever seen the podcast with Jeff Bezos and Lex Friedman.
But
It's one of the few podcasts I've seen from Jeff Bezos.
His whole page and have everyone read it for the first 5 minutes.
The memo is pretty hardcore, so we don't do the memo. But prior to the meeting, every single person who's like a leader in the meeting needs to report from their downlines what is a topic that you want discussed on this meeting. So the meat of the meeting is called topics of discussion. All right, so we run through our topics of discussion. Then we're going to go into, in these topics, I'm going to let you guys talk and like ideate. Right, there's different stages and levels you go in. 30,000 feet, you're kind of wandering around.
Yeah.
You're ideating, you're thinking. You know what the cool thing about a startup is? You can make up any effing number you want. You could set any target you want because nobody knows yet what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's fun to ideate and wander. If the topic can't be resolved in less than 3 to 5 minutes with that group of people on the phone, like you're in a very expensive meeting if you think about it.
Yeah.
That time is valuable.
It is.
If it takes longer than that, there's typically confusion around the topic. And so you'd pick out the main stakeholders who need to be clear on what needs to happen in order for this to resolve. And as the CEO, you direct them into a strategic meeting separate from this that they'll schedule together for 15 to 30 minutes. And you're going to say, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You guys go figure it out because you're closest to the fire and bring me back the resolution. So on Friday, we're going to come back and review this topic. Brendan, Jake, James, you guys are responsible for resolving and bringing a result. Once we have a result, we'll make a decision, and then we'll cascade out that decision to every single piece of the business.
I love that.
So you're super organized in how you're discussing topics. You're very concentrated on your time constraints for discussing those topics. And then when something can't be resolved, you're not spinning your wheels with 20 people on the call.
I can tell it's going to take more. You guys are smart. You're close to the fire. Go figure this out. I trust you. Come back, return a report.
And that's 50% of it. And the other 50% of it is, guess what? You probably couldn't actually come up with the answer. You. So
true,
it's just there's no point in me micromanaging you.
Yeah.
And that leads to one of my favorite sayings is when people are overly instructed, they feel micromanaged. When people are constantly reminded, they feel like they're part of the culture. In order to constantly remind somebody of something, there has to be a framework in place that you can take them back to every time they get off the path. Have you ever tried to meditate before?
Yeah, of course.
You know how your mind kind of wanders and you got to bring it back to the path.
It takes a couple minutes.
Bring it back to the path. That's how you think. That's how I think about it. Is we wander off, then guess what? We need to brush our teeth. We need to put on deodorant. We need to change our clothes, and that needs to happen all the time. So it's a maintenance function.
When you said the reminder, they're what? They feel micromanaged if they
when they're overly instructed. They feel micromanaged. When they're constantly reminded, they feel like they're part of the culture. And that's what a strong culture does, Nick, is once this framework is in place, you as the CEO are the chief reminding officer. And I would give you this piece of advice as being a CEO is literally to this day, not a single person in my org is better than me. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Or that I'm better than them. Sorry.
Yeah, I know you mean.
I don't believe that at all. I actually believe we all have our talents and skill sets. Yeah. Mine's organizational health and just figuring stuff out. But there are other skill sets of people who are way better than me.
100%.
And assuming that they aren't would be a downfall.
Yeah.
And a disservice to our company.
My goal is to make the people better than me in their respective roles.
Yeah.
Because we move faster together and achieve a lot more, have a lot bigger reach.
Yeah. So a constant phrase that I say to remind people is, you do not work for me. We work together.
Yeah, I like that.
That is how we operate.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, so you've created your clarity, you have your strategy, you have your defining objectives, you're constantly reminding. Okay, I know this is a lot.
No, I'm packaging this really well.
Yeah, and so once you're constantly reminded, now you have earned the right to have peer-to-peer accountability in your company.
Yeah.
Rather than top-down accountability. Because guess what? They can hold you accountable too.
That's what you need.
That's where Roast Brian Mondays came from.
Yeah.
You can hold me accountable to terrible decisions. And I am just like you. I'm a worker here. As the CEO, if I didn't do a good job every single day that I walked through the door, I would fully expect to be fired.
Yeah. Dude, I remember Patrick Brett David saying that, like, nobody's spot here is safe, you know, CEO included, owner included, like it's not safe. And, you have to create that culture so people level up or, you know, they get replaced. How do you create that without like causing a fear in the culture, you know? Like, how do you create that standard where it's like, you know, I went and talked to my friend Jeremy Miner. I was like, dude, you guys you're crushing now. You know, their company's doubled in size in the last year. I said, what was the big difference? He says, we replaced 56% of our people last year. I said, oh, cool. Where'd you learn that from? He says, Todd Peterson. And so I was like, okay, interesting. But what do you think about that principle, and how do you instill that without like it being like, oh, fear, and say like, oh, you're gonna get replaced, you know?
Yeah. So
more of an abundant way to think.
I love that.
Like, we get to level up, you know, like that's what I want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably one of the worst people to ask. Most of the people that have worked with me, it's been about 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
So I've had the same group of people for about 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
And I see that as a superpower. When we start a new company, I don't have to tell them what to do.
That's awesome.
They already know how to start the wheel moving. And that's the hardest part of getting the wheel moving, is the start. There's an initial mover of the wheel, and that's the people who you start the company with. And one of my favorite things is when you find really good teammates and partners, you continually do things with them. People sometimes like way overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and way underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking in weeks and days rather than in decades. But if you're building something that's strong, that has a good culture, that creates a positive environment, that gives value, those people will continually work with you for a long time. And this solar company isn't going to be the last thing you ever do.
No.
So the next thing you do, how cool would it be if you could skip the step where you have to teach everybody everything and rebuild everything?
God, it'd be amazing.
And you just have 4 nicks to start the company.
Yeah,
and all of you go just crush it.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do. I do agree with, you know, there needs to be a certain amount of turnover. And what I would say is there's rock stars in your company and there's misfits. And I had a hard time with this at the very beginning of learning this practice because I don't know why. I have like a soft spot. I'm like, I don't want to fire this guy.
Yeah.
I really don't. And, you know, yeah, what he did sucks, but I can see the better person in him. But what I've found is over the years, that's not only worse for me,
it's worse for them.
It's worse for them.
Yeah.
Every single time that I've found and identified a misfit and let them go, they went off to do something better, and our company did way better.
That's cool.
And I think sometimes we worry about the outcomes for them.
Like they're going to lose, but yeah.
But like they were a good person to start with. That's why they were in your org.
Yeah.
They're talented. They're going to make money. It's not the end of the world. People lose jobs.
Yeah.
And the thing is like that guy's so talented and his skill set's so good. It's just not what we champion here.
Nice. I like that.
So like
That's
when
awesome.
I think of who to fire, or like if I want to fire somebody ever, it's more like, well, dude, you can't fire that guy. He's the top producer.
Yeah.
He sells the most accounts. You're like, cool. Well, what the F does it say in the behaviors? Does it say sell the most accounts? Or does it say you before me?
Nice.
Does it say sell the most accounts?
Yeah.
Or does it say whatever it takes? Does it say sell the most accounts, or does it say dial the F in?
Nice, bro.
Because we're championing the wrong thing if we're keeping this guy just because he sells accounts, but he embodies none of the company's behaviors. So either we are who we say we are, and we're going to hold up to those behaviors, or we're complete frauds and we're just going to let this guy keep going, even though he's a total piece of shiz, ruins our culture, everyone doesn't like it, and he's not embodying any of the company behaviors. Like, that weakens your ability to be the CEO. It erodes the trust with people. And trust is gotten in drips and drops and lost in buckets. So it's very hard to regain trust. It's actually one of the hardest things in the world to do with people. So that's what I would say.
That's brilliant. Outside of building talent, what is your guys' strategy for finding talent? Let's say if it's different for sales and ops, I want to hear. If it's the same, great.
Yeah. So strategy for attracting talent, right?
Recruiting and attack.
Sales and ops are very different. So I'll tell you like the real
Okay.
of the split between those two people. Sales at this point in solar has just been given such a black eye
Yeah.
over so many different problems
Uh-huh.
for so long. But guess what? When they like go to look up who did this to them, it's them. They like open the book and it's their own picture.
Yeah.
Because sales has created its own problem, which comes off as an ops problem, but it's really a customer problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Expectations, communicated. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I truly believe this is that what salespeople are craving, like what attracts top salespeople,
Uh-huh.
the right people that you want that are going to grow to your values, is they want stability, they want structure, and they want to be taught how to be a professional. At one point in one of the companies that we built, the tagline for our sales team was the most educated sales force in the history of door-to-door. And
That worked.
if they can, yeah, it worked for a
Yeah.
while. Yeah. Until you get, people come in and out, and some people believe, some people don't.
Yeah.
But you catch those people, and that's where you move into, hey man, what are we championing? Are we going to hold to who we are, or are we not? And boom, you got to let that guy go. It sucked at AKE. We let go half of the industry of solar in Florida. We let go of the owner of Kinhome.
By choice.
Yeah.
Wow.
We let go of the owner of Imp Energy. We let go of the owner of Flow Energy.
And it's because they don't.
And we could go on and on and on at FPM Power. Like every single one of those companies. And I always look back and think, man, what if we were just able to have kept all those people? We'd be the biggest freaking company ever.
But no.
But no, we wouldn't have made it. And looking back on how everything played out, it all was for the best and the right. So on the sales side of things, it's stability, it's training, right? That's what they really care about. I truly believe that. And I truly believe that you can't train somebody how to do something through prompts and giving them the document and having them read it and click through. Todd Peterson had one of the best training programs ever at Vivint. But guess what everyone would do? They just get on their phone and go all the way through it.
Yeah.
Right? So getting people to be trained correctly requires a system that's a sandbox that they can't get out of unless they do it right. So a huge mission at Spartan Solar is to protect the consumer and make sure they get what they expect at the point of sale by locking pretty much everything you can do to the process so that the consumer has to see everything. They have to agree to everything. They have to understand it, right? And through doing that, people get really good. You think you're going to sell less. Spartan has never sold more. And it has never been harder to get through a sale than it is now. The customer has to be so clear on what they're getting at this point. Otherwise, the customer never becomes a customer. And guess what? We didn't slow down. It just changed. It wasn't worse. It was just different. And I think in showing people that we can do that and having that value add, and you plug that together with the leads platform that Alex has built, right? That's how you create sustainability. Door-to-door is volatile. It's seasonal. Leads programs they're year-round. They're not volatile. They're predictable, right? And most people think of door-to-door companies as non-valuable because they're so volatile. What are you buying? You're buying people. What we want to create is the system and the process. We want to fundamentally change the solar industry around intake. Like we want to grab everything and change it. Lightreach, GoodLeap, whoever. You don't even use any process anymore where you write on a piece of paper. You use this process. We standardize how we sell solar so that the customer gets what they expect. There's no miscommunications, and the industry actually survives and grows.
This is why I'll always for friendship, everything, but I'll always be supporting you guys, man. I can't not, because you're generally doing a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. And you guys will be compensated greatly for it in the long run. You know you will.
I hope so.
You guys have the execution, you have the brains, you have the systems, but at the core, you have the right focus. And this is one key differentiator as I've studied Bezos and Sam Walton. These entrepreneurs truly cared about the customer. They obsessed over the customer. And Jeff literally made an open chair every single meeting for the customer representative to remind their team, this is who we're here to serve. How can we make it better for them? Yeah. Not how can we just make this more profitable, or how can we do it right? Then what do they want? What's their problem? What would you say? Because I've heard this, and I think this way too, there's two customers for our industry. tell me what you think. The homeowner first, second, the sales rep for the experience. Do you treat that like a customer? Like, how can we make their experience better?
Yeah. I want to speak to that. I want to finish the first
Please
part
do.
of
Sorry.
what attracts ops.
Okay. Yes.
Because it's exactly what you just said, right?
Okay.
Once that holy cause is in place and you're actually doing it, because it's hard to say no to the sales that don't make it. We have sales that never become sales that at other companies, we would have double the sales. But we like having it the way it is because once it gets into operations, right now, inside of our escalations and customer care, the biggest complaints are trash was left in my yard. So there was like a ding on my door, you know, like something we messed up in the field.
Yeah.
These are solvable problems. They're not fundamental issues that can't be resolved. And the craziest hire I ever made was a few weeks ago. And it was a guy coming from a company that I won't say who it was, but he had left that company and he moved over to us. And in the interview, he said, hey man, I have an offer for $300K from this company, this company, this company. And we're like, cool, we're a third of that to do it here. And he spent a few days doing his due diligence, talking to every person in our org, communicating about what we do. And, you know, obviously he has incentives and upsides beyond that, but that's the base, right? And his remarks when he came back, he signed on and said, dude, I know I could make double the base or triple the base somewhere else. I just can't show up to another homeowner's home and lie to them to get us to put the system on. Like, I just can't do it anymore. I like honestly want to just go into HVAC or like go into building homes. Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
And so like we were able to get an A++ player who came over for the behavioral side of things.
Wow.
Because behavior always precedes results.
Yeah.
And if we can pull people over and attract talent through our behaviors as a company, you're going to get higher level people that will work for less money initially for a higher upside because they know the company will succeed. And they know that they can be proud of what they do. And when they lay their head on the pillow at night, guess who they have to negotiate with? Themselves. So sometimes you do things in life for money. And I've just learned that how you make money is just as important as how much money you make. Because it's just you at the end of the night when you lay your head down.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you made a ton of money or a little money.
Yeah.
It's the same guy.
In fact, if you make more, it's just going to amplify the current reality. If it's fake, if it's transactional, it'll amplify the facade.
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe value is created by serving, empowering, and making something better for someone. You know, I remember I shifted my perspective when recruiting. I'm like, I just want to help this guy. I just want to help him get what he wants. That's what I've always been with selling. And I'm like, why don't I do this with recruiting? You know, I'm trying to negotiate red line, trying to negotiate this or convince someone why to sell here. I'm like, I just stopped. I'm like, what does this dude want? You know, forget my agenda. What does he want? The first thing you talked about. And then how can I help him get there? Right. And it's a game changer when you can get alignment on that with people and you create more value and it's a win-win-win. Everybody wins.
Yeah. That's
what good business is. Can I share with you some of my my behaviors that I've created for our company that the brainstorm?
Let's hear.
Number one, we are a leadership development sales org. Okay, behavioral standards. We track, don't chase. There's a lot that I brain dumped in here. Okay, I need to narrow it down. I notice you guys have 3. I've got way too many. Okay, so I'll fly through these, and
they can be expansive, but you want
some things
memorable, repeatable taglines.
Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to construct this with Josh. Narrow these down into some good ones, but leadership development, sales org, behavioral standards, we attract, we don't chase. That's personal growth, emphasis on self-development, leadership development, and our results precede recruiting, right? If we get results, people follow. We invest daily in self-development because these are sub points.
You know, Alex is right. Results, receipts, recruit.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. Yes. We become the example before we talk to others, to follow. Leaders grow themselves before growing teams. We model, replicate, duplicate what works. Okay. Second one is we are a sales org that's obsessed with results. I want something that's obsessed on results. Okay. So process over prize, accountability, Higher inputs equals higher outputs, predictable results. Less talking about what I did, what I'm going to do. Less talk, more just get the results, let the results talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Receipts. Speed-driven organization. We communicate fast and transparently, execute quickly, fail fast, learn fast, adjust fast. That's the one. Then we are all in. No half commitment, no part-time, no side hustles, right? Leaders are fully bought in or they're out. And then the extreme ownership, you understand what? And then value-driven, sell yourself. We believe that of the importance of conviction, like being sold on what you do. Like, how am I serving people?
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that you will sell more if you are sold more. So you sell to the degree that you are sold, the conviction you have.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the core themes.
Okay, quickest feedback I can give you
I know
before the cameras melt down into nothing is organize them into categories. So remember, there's 5 questions. Why do you exist? Yeah. What do you do? How do you behave? How do you think you'll succeed? So success statements. And then what's most important right now? So some of the ones that you said, some are behavioral some are success statements.
Got it.
So I'll tell you Spartan success statements.
Okay.
Right. It's utilize tech to provide speed and transparency.
Okay.
It's a win for customer ops and sales. And then the last one is people first. Those are like very human, like healthy side of the business ideas in strategies that we use to try and win. Right. So I would say you just need to organize them and format them into which are behavioral and which are going to be in the success statements category.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And the shorter and simpler they are, the more memorable and more repeatable they are.
Got it. Love that.
So that'd be my 2 advices.
Thank you, Brian. Well received. This has been amazing. I got tons of notes. Guys, I hope this was a good podcast for you guys. I was picking his brain from my lens. I hope some of you guys can apply this to building your teams, your company, or just your people. Even if you're solo selling, like, hopefully this gives you a vision on growing. If you had to say one thing to empower the individual to want to grow, to become a builder, what would you say?
Say that again.
If you wanted to empower the individual, maybe it's a sales rep, maybe it's a team lead who's just struggled. I don't want to babysit reps. I don't want to do this. They're just like, I just want to produce. If you were to challenge that, what would you say?
They just want to produce and they don't want to move up.
Yeah. Or just to inspire somebody to get to the next level of growth.
Yeah. I would just say, it goes back to what you want, right? Because that's what you say you want, but that's probably not what you really want. Because what everyone actually wants is they want to hit that escape velocity and get out into an area where they don't have to worry about things in life. Things in life are naturally taken care of and they can pursue their passions.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you run into that comment, it's someone isn't really passionate about what they do. Because if you can't make money and grow at your passion, it's not a lack of opportunity. It's a lack of love for the thing.
Yeah, it is.
And so if you're giving them every opportunity, dialing in on what they want, then at some point they're going to have to come clean with what they really want out of life. Because if their why, if what they want isn't big enough and they're continually exceeding it, I would challenge that person and say, well, in life, you never really stand still. You're either kind of growing or decaying.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
Yeah. And so what do you want for your life? And I would just dig deeper with that person. And I think those are the best people to work with long-term because there's no fluff in there. They're telling you what they want and they're like straightforward about it. And that honesty can build a ton of trust with you if you use it the right way.
Amen.
If you come at them and you're like, dude, you're not growing, you're not this, you're not that.
Yeah, backfire.
It's almost like when someone's like upset, rather than being upset back and pushing back, being like, hey man, is everything okay?
Yeah.
That's how I think about it with those reps.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I promise every single time they have like a deeper thing that's going on.
I love that. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, no worries.
This has been an incredible podcast. Guys, I was reading this in How to Win Friends and Influence People. The importance of not just listening, but taking notes. And listen to one of the first things that Brian said off the podcast was he's been noting everything down for the last decade. and he's been compartmentalizing and organizing these ideas. And it's one, to hear ideas. It's second, to jot it down. I think you show God, the universe, and yourself that you're serious about that idea and you care about the principle. But then two, it's the ability to organize it so that you can recall it. Because you can't recall it in life. What does it matter that you have a million notes, And so that's why we have books. That's why we have things like that. And so I've seen there's how breakthroughs come by doing that, and it compounds over time.
Yeah. I would say that cliches are cliches for a reason. They're the simplest things, but yet we forget them all the time.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? Because we don't write them down. We don't live them every day.
Yeah.
So like I told you at the beginning, writing everything down for the past 7 to 10 years and keeping those in notebooks and in digital notes. Anytime I run into a problem or an area where I'm having trouble or stressing, I can go back in time and go reread the golden nuggets of life that I've learned from people far better than me and pull those out instead of having to go find somebody to teach me how to fix it again.
So good. This is one of the golden rules that Jim Rohn taught Tony Robbins early on.
Really?
Yeah, is a journal, have journals of note, learn everything you learn, journal it, put it in paper, have books to show your children.
So smart.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant advice. I did it last night. I'm like, damn, it's been too long since I've done this. I have breakthroughs from doing it. And yeah. So reminder for me, reminder for everybody. Brian, Thank you.
Yeah.
Audience, love you guys. Let's go execute. Thank you again, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it.